11 pit bosses. 11 men who'd spent their whole careers reading the math at a Baccarat table, and not one of them, not a single one, could explain what they were watching. Because what they were watching wasn't supposed to happen. $40 million, one man, one game, and a streak so long, so impossible, that the casino flew in specialists from 3 different properties just to stand at the rail and stare. Let me take you back. Baccarat is the quiet game. You don't hear it the way you hear the craps table erupt or the slot floor screaming with bells. Baccarat lives in a roped-off corner. High limits, velvet ropes, the whales play there. And the beautiful, brutal thing about Baccarat is the math. The house edge is almost nothing, about 1% on the banker bet. It's one of the fairest games on the floor. But fair still means the house wins, slowly, inevitably. Over thousands of hands, the numbers grind you down. That's the whole business model. The house doesn't need luck, it needs time. So here's the thing you have to understand. Nobody beats Baccarat over a long session. Nobody. The longer you sit, the more certain the house's edge becomes. It's not opinion, it's arithmetic. Now meet the man who sat down anyway. We'll call him by what the floor called him, because to this day, his full identity is wrapped in confidentiality agreements thicker than a phone book. The pit knew him as a quiet player from out of town, soft-spoken, polite, the kind of high roller who tips the dealers, says thank you, and never raises his voice. He arrived with a marker, casino credit, and a bankroll that made the pit boss stand a little straighter. He started small, for a whale anyway, a few thousand a hand, and he won. Then he pressed the bet, won again, pressed again, won again. And here's where it gets interesting, because winning a few hands in a row, that's nothing. That happens every night in every casino on Earth. The house expects it. The house wants it. A winner who keeps playing is the house's best friend, because the math will come back around. It always comes back around. Except this time, it didn't. He kept betting banker, 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 and the banker kept landing, hand after hand after hand. The dealer pulled cards from the shoe, flipped them, and the number came up his way again and again and again. Not every single hand. That would have tripped every alarm in the building instantly. No, he lost just enough to look human, just enough to look like a man on a hot run. But the wins stacked up in a curve no statistician would believe. The first pit boss watched it for an hour and figured it was variance. Streaks happen. He'd seen players run hot before. He logged it and moved on. But the streak didn't cool, it got hotter. By hour 3, the chips in front of this man weren't stacks anymore. They were towers. They had to color up, exchange the small chips for the big denomination plaques, twice, because the table physically couldn't hold what he'd won. And that's when the second pit boss got called over, then a third, then the shift supervisor. Now picture the scene, a quiet corner of the floor, one soft-spoken man, and a growing semicircle of the most experienced casino employees in the building, arms folded, watching a shoe of cards do something they had no explanation for. Every one of them was running the same checklist in their heads. Is he counting? You can't really count Baccarat. The math doesn't work the way blackjack does. Is he marking the cards? Is this edge sorting, reading tiny imperfections on the backs of the cards to know what's coming? They pulled the eye in the sky. They had surveillance zoom in on his hands, frame by frame. Nothing. His hands never touched the cards. The dealer handled everything. They changed the shoe. Fresh cards, fresh shuffle, sealed deck cracked open right in front of him. Standard procedure when something looks wrong. He kept winning. They changed the dealer, brought in a new one, watched by 3 supervisors. He kept winning. And this is the part that broke them. They changed the cards, they changed the dealer, they changed the table, and the streak walked right along with him like a shadow. By now the number on the board was climbing past 10 million, then 15, then 20. Let me ask you something, because I genuinely want to know where you land on this. At what point does a casino stop the game? Legally, they can shuffle, they can lower his limits, they can eventually back him off, politely ask him to stop playing, or outright bar him. But here's the catch. They had no evidence. None. You can't accuse a man of cheating because he's winning. Winning isn't a crime, and backing off a whale who might be the highest roller you'll see all year with no proof of anything in front of a floor full of other big players watching how you treat your best customers? That's a decision that gets people fired. So tell me, in their shoes, do you pull the plug on a streak you can't explain, or do you let it ride and pray the math comes home? Drop it in the comments, because the men standing at that table genuinely did not know. They let it ride, and the streak kept going. By the time the sun was thinking about coming up, the number had crossed $40 million. 40. The pit boss who'd logged it as variance 8 hours earlier was now standing there white as the felt because there is no variance that looks like this. The odds of that run in that order over that many hands, you're into numbers with more zeros than the human brain can hold. It's the kind of probability where you'd sooner flip a coin and get heads 40 times in a row. So what was it? Here's where I have to be honest with you, because this is a story where the explanation is the mystery. The casino investigated for months. They pulled every frame of footage. They examined the shoes. They tested the dealers. And here's the detail almost nobody knows. They never found a single thing. No edge sorting, no marked cards, no counting, no collusion with the dealer. 11 pit bosses, a full surveillance team, and an internal investigation, and the official conclusion was, essentially, a shrug. The man won. Cleanly, impossibly, and legally. He colored up, signed his paperwork, collected his 40 million, and walked out the front door. No winner's photo, no interview. Gone. Now, some people say it was pure luck, the 1 in a trillion run that has to happen to somebody eventually. Some say he'd found a flaw in that specific shuffle, a shuffle tracker so good even the cameras couldn't catch the read. And some swear to this day that there was a method nobody at that property was smart enough to spot. We've got a whole separate video on edge sorting and how one man used it to take casinos for tens of millions. If this kind of thing pulls you in, that one's worth your time. But this story? This one never got solved. And honestly, that's why it haunts the people who were there. So here's my question for you, and I want a real answer. Was it luck? Or was it a method so clean that 11 professionals stood 3 feet away and never saw it? Pick a side. Tell me why. Because somewhere out there, a quiet man with $40 million already knows.